Cobalt is a really useful element which has been used for pottery, batteries, and also even medical implants. So that is why I'm gonna be extracting it from lithium ion batteries. So step 1 is to take apart the batteries. At first, I make a sodium carbonate solution to discharge the batteries for safety reasons. So I take apart the batteries and I unroll the two foils, which one of them is copper, which is unneeded, and the other one is made from aluminum, which is the one we want. Then we dissolve the foil in sodium hydroxide. So I make a solution of sodium hydroxide in some hot water. And I pour it all over the foil so that I can dissolve the aluminum, leaving me with some lithium cobalt oxide. And this reaction proceeds pretty slowly, but when it heats up, it goes way stronger. As you can see, I did a time lapse and just becomes stronger and stronger. And then I brought it outside, and the next day I added more sodium hydroxide
that should be enough.
and waited until it all melted. As you can see, it was making a lot of hydrogen, so much so that you can even visually see the production. Then I filtered the solution, which left me with this lithium cobalt oxide, which is a pretty dark black color. Step 3. Dissolve the lithium cobalt oxide in hydrochloric acid. So add my lithium cobalt oxide to a beaker and I pour in some 30% hydrogen peroxide diluted with some water.
Oh wow.
And then I heat and stir it until it all reacts, but an accident happened and all the solution splattered all over the hot plate and even inside of it, which caused it to corrode. After I cleaned everything up, I proceeded with the procedure, added in more hydrochloric acid and waited for it to dissolve, but for some reason it couldn't dissolve all of it. I think there is some carbon or other impurities which are insoluble in the acid, or at least in the water.
Okay, now I'm gonna filter the
Then
solution.
I filtered the solution through some cotton, and the solution came out a really bright blue color, and when it cooled down it became this reddish yellow color. Then step 4, making cobalt carbonate. So to make cobalt carbonate, I added in baking soda, also known as sodium bicarbonate, to produce insoluble cobalt carbonate, which should precipitate. And after adding all the baking soda, I saw
the
some
solution is
precipitate,
pink.
and the precipitate turned
Reasonably
into some kind of a
pink.
cream texture, and it just kept plugging up the flask, and the flask turned into a volcano.
Okay,
As
so
you can
this is a
see,
disaster,
yeah,
but
it
you
was
can
a
see some
disaster. It
pink
went
color if I
everywhere
adjust
and
it just
on
right.
me,
You can see it's a
I
little
mean,
bit
there was
pink.
cobalt, but not much. But the next day, as you can see, it settled out, and there is a black layer and a pink, some kind of a pink precipitate, which doesn't really look like cobalt. But then I decanted off the water, and I also performed the vacuum filtration, which didn't go really well, and I also tipped everything over and splashed it everywhere, which took a really long time to clean up, and it kind of got on my nerves this point. And also my filtration apparatus kept plugging up, but then I switched to a better vacuum pump, and the process went more smoothly, but still it just kept flogging up. I think I need a way better vacuum pump. And then I was left with this whitish, a little, maybe a little pinkish, kind of like a cream or a clay. And against the white background you can definitely see that it's a little bit pink. Then we have to mix some pure cobalt sulfate and fluoride, so we dissolve it in hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid. But for some reason it doesn't go also really well, because it kind of turned this greenish color. I mean, look at that, that's literally green and should be blue or pink, so that's pretty weird. But also I actually got some red crystals, but on camera they look really like brown, and this also a green sludge turned into more like a brown sludge. Step 6, psychological breakdown. So basically what happened, I followed this procedure which I found on Google AI, which was probably one of my worst life decisions, and it basically wanted me to react the cobalt with bleach in a controlled pH environment to separate cobalt from nickel and other impurities, but it just made this black sludge and tons of chlorine gas, which is probably a really bad idea because it would make everything rust. And the solution, yeah, it was very weird. And I then tried to vacuum filter it, and of course, yeah, it plugged up my filtration apparatus again. And then when I finally filtered a little bit of the solution, I had to filter even more, so yeah, it was just really hard to filter it, and it took a few days to filter. And I got this black sludge, but I noticed that it wasn't done reacting, so I added more bleach, and that made more black sludge. Then I mixed it with hydrogen
After
peroxide and
boiling, the
sulfuric
solution
acid,
appears
and it turned
to be
white,
white.
which it should
Alright,
be red,
so for
and
that,
it left me with a couple of buckets of waste, which I tried to filter, but then my vacuum pump burnt out.
It's
And
burning
then
my
I was like,
pants.
screw it,
So
I'm
now
just gonna
I've
boil it
got all of the
down.
sludge in here because I was tired. The vacuum pump broke down, and my vacuum cleaner cannot filter it quickly enough, and it overheats. So it's gonna be impure, but still gonna be cobalt. It's boiling, and it
even
has
then,
it
got
has
even
this
weirder.
yellow
It
reddish color. So I
turned
think
like,
this is our
I don't
cobalt.
even know, it turned yellow,
The
and then
solution
after
turned green.
more boiling and turned green.
It's green.
Like, this chemistry does not this.
I have all
it
of
does
this
not even
waste
make
solution
sense.
from the filtrate,
Then
which I'm
I
going
wanted to
to
boil
have.
down all
I'm
the
going to
other
boil this
waste,
down.
which was probably not necessary because, yeah, it probably would have failed. And I forgot about the solution. When I came back, the flask exploded everywhere, and the whole bottom was shattered. And when I tapped it lightly, the whole bottom fell off. So yeah, it's gone. Step 7: redo everything. And I mean literally everything. But I'm starting with a Bosch drill battery. I take it apart, and I measure the cells, and they're almost charged, so I discharged them, and then I took them apart like this, and I dissolved them in sodium hydroxide, but I broke my beaker, so I had to do it in this jar. Then I filtered it again. Dissolved it in hydrochloric acid, and this time it made a lot of chlorine. You can even see the yellow chlorine. Then I filtered it again, mixed it with baking soda, and it overflowed again. Then I did a filtration, but I did a gravity one because the vacuum one didn't work. Then I washed my hot plate, and then I redissolved it in hydrochloric and sulfuric acids. I boiled it down, and I got a green solution, which of course means there's nickel, and the sulfuric acid turned yellow, and of course it splattered all over the hot plate. And then I did many recrystallizations, purifications with different solvents, chemicals. Nothing worked. I just got different sludges.
Look at this,
but
bro.
After a lot of recrystallizations, the
really super blue
hydrochloric acid solution
solution
turned blue, which was really good. And then I put this in this bottle here. And then next day I came back and the cobalt solution turned gray and then blue after boiling. But then even a day later, all of the stuff in the bottle crystallized into these beautiful crystals of cobalt chloride. And I was really happy. And I even tried more purification methods with the sulfate solution, but
now let sodium
in the end,
bicarbonate or baking soda to precipitate out the cobalt.
I did get this blue solution, but after boiling it down and filtrating it, it just crystallized it in this mess of crystals, which I'm not even gonna show because it's just pointless. And yeah, this is the mess that I got. It's not even cobalt, it's just like sulfates, like sodium sulfate. And then I realized that this whole project was just a big amount of my time, money and effort being put down the drain. But still I got 2 or 3 grams of pure cobalt chloride, so it wasn't a complete loss.